Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, we're in the second season now. Did you get feedback from the people who were a part of the first season and their portrayal?
Yeah, we actually I didn't hear directly from Phil, who's the guy who went to another man's house to cut off his toes for $4,000, but he did do a couple interviews where he said, "Yep, that's pretty much exactly what happened." So, um yeah, generally I think with some exceptions everyone was happy. I mean, there was some fallout from the sheriff in the Mermaids episode last season because he got in trouble, which was not my intent, but I don't think he was thrilled. Um, the but yeah, I try very hard not to as silly as the show gets and as outlandish as some of the things we do, the actors are. I try to make that very clear that it's silliness and it's all triggered by what the documentary subjects or real people are saying. As I never want to make fun of them, so ideally, I try to maintain a relationship with everyone. So ideally, they're happy. I mean, as happy as you can be with sharing some of your most embarrassing moments on national television. It's always tricky.
Yes, yes. And the approach that you have in this reenactment, it is very much a reenactment. And some of what they say is literal line for line what the person says. Why did you decide to take this approach and that it's literally a reenactment and you highlight some of the lines that they say word for word?
For a couple of different reasons. I mean, I think everyone is pretty familiar with true crime and how it works. And part of the fun of the show for me was just to spoof what everyone's used to in reenactment, which is pretty straight, trying to portray the events exactly as they happened. And I'm never trying to do that. The truth is always better than what I could reenact. So I'm trying to get into the mental state and jump into the most insane version of what might happen or what the imagination of the characters had in store. You know, in the first season, one of our episodes was about a man who tried to burn down his ex-boyfriend's house with a pot full of spaghetti, and it didn't work. But he had this whole idea of how this sort of Ocean's 11 level heist was going to go on. So we showed his fantasy and then the reality when this pothead ragu just sort of smoked up the house and did nothing.
Yes. How do you get people to open up? Because some of these are like really embarrassing moments, which we all have, but some are like hot. It's Florida, as the title goes. Some of them are very embarrassing.
Well, I mean, this season we asked for submission, so everyone volunteered their stories this season, and for some it was an important thing to share. We had one guy that had a real drug problem and that got him into some ridiculous trouble where he broke into a Little Caesars Pizza and they got trapped in the ceiling and got arrested. And what's so cool about that story and a lot of our stories was that was sort of a rock bottom for him.
Mhm.
And as humiliating as it was, he says and told me initially that he felt it was important to tell those stories so other people that are going through this know that it's possible to get straight and clean and be happy with yourself. And he figured if he could show the worst case scenario of what might happen if you don't go into recovery, uh, maybe people will be dissuaded from doing too much meth.
Yes. Which some can argue that even a little meth is a little too much meth. But
I don't know that much about it, but I
yeah,
tend to agree with you.
yes. But speaking of that episode, he talks about Bad Chad. Why did you decide to hire another actor to be Bad Chad instead of having two Adam Devines?
Well, why not just have two Adam Devines? Well, first of all, I thought it was pretty interesting because he and his friend were talking about recovery from addiction being a lot like a battle with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, being a Looney Tune myself, I thought, oh, why don't we kind of do this Fight Club thing where you actually visualize that struggle and we make it really silly, right? Um, and then I thought about having two Adam Devines, but having just another guy in the same outfit just seemed even more ridiculous to me. And Nick Swardson's so funny in an entirely different way than Adam is. That having both those conflicting versions of comedy on screen was just so fun. I also think I would have exhausted Adam even more than I did. He's a dear friend, and I shooting everything twice would have been a way to torture your buddy.
Yes. There's also an original song in Bad Chad. Well, it's not that called that, but I refer to that as the Bad Chad episode.
Yeah.
Where it's what's going on in Chad's head, and his friend that's an artist sings a song about what's going on in his head. How did you guys come up with the lyrics of the song?
Well, I took those lyrics pretty much entirely out of the interview with Chad's friend Jimmy, who is a uh, an artist and performer, and I really wanted Chet Hanks, who plays Jimmy in the episode, to be rapping something that was transformative and was inside Adam's head, and then I just figured, why not just use the actual words of from our interview, which is always the trick of this show is instead of inventing things, just take what the people really said, because truth is stranger than fiction always, and it was much more funny. I mean, I've watched this show with my parents and with my friends' parents, and the constant reaction is like, no way that happened. And they're like, they hear that people say it happened and they're blown away. It's just this constant cycle of not believing what is actually true. So it just felt like another version of that.
Yes. Also, Chad and Bad Chad are trying to figure out how Little Caesars can have $5 pizza, and it's a huge struggle that they're trying to figure out. And then you have someone explain how they can have $5 pizza because it's really not that puzzling. Why did you decide to have this completely sober person who works at Little Caesars explain how they can actually have $5 pizza?
Well, it was a minor thing that the real Chad told me is that that was actually a thing that he used to joke about, that he was in Little Caesars so long because he was trying to figure out how hot and ready worked. And I thought, just to negate that on camera, just bring in this kid who made hot and ready pizzas for his like summer job. And I asked him, I actually didn't know that it wasn't a secret. When I asked this question, he's like, you can just look through the window and watch us make, we just make pizzas and then we put them in a warmer. It's not, there's no real secret to it. They just make pizzas ahead of time. That's it.
Yeah, it really cools down the situation at the moment because it's very high stakes for them, and it's just like you can just watch, like it's not like this trade secret. We just make the pizza, and then after a while, we just eat them if no one comes to get them.
I mean, I bought the Kool-Aid. I was like, how do they do this? It's magic. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this totally checks out. It's,
Yeah.
it's weird. But I think that's just one of the things that's funny with his mental state at that point is that everything just gets cranked up to 11. The stakes of everything at that moment are the stakes of a nuclear war to this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
There's also this very sweet moment, which I think is also a part of his sobriety journey while he's still high, but still a part of his journey when he confronts Bad Chad, which at first is like very sweet. We have the swelling music, but then he's still high, so it does not go as well. How did you kind of orchestrate this whole moment of him trying to confront Bad Chad, and why did you decide to have this moment within the show?
Well, I asked him when I was interviewing the real Chad, and we had talked about Bad Chad just on the phone a bit, and talking about confronting your shadow self, and then he just acted out this breakup that sounded so sensitive and like a real breakup that everyone's been through, that I thought it was so funny that you're out of your mind on drugs, you're in a pizza kitchen, you want to change your life, and this is how it comes out. I'd never seen something like that where you're having this sensitive conversation with yourself, who's now another guy in a kitchen, uh, out of his mind. And I don't know, it's partially how my mind works, Ariana. I was just like, well, what if he transforms into a monster when he gets dumped? Because that's what I think most people do mentally, is they just turn into the most terrifying, murderous creature imaginable if you break their hearts.
Yes.
Does that make any sense? It doesn't know
It does.
how that happened. I don't know.
Yes. Would you say, probably not as extreme, do you think there's like a bad Jeff?
I think everyone has there's a bad Ariana, I'm sure.
Yes. There's an
I think
Angriana, is what I like to call her, Angriana.
Ariana?
Yeah.
Well, I think that was what was also so compelling about that story to me, is I think everyone has a dark side. And Chad's brother actually says at the end of the episode, everyone's done weird, crazy shit. Everyone. And I think that's the truth of that whole story, is that it's easy to laugh at this guy that makes mistakes and strips off his clothes and ends up wearing just tube socks and underwear after breaking into a place. But I think the thing that I can connect to, and I think everyone can, is like, we all as human beings have this evil side. This sort of tricky sometimes to keep under control. And maybe don't do a bunch of meth, because the evil side will just come out in a way that you don't want it to.
Yes.
I don't know if my evil side would break into a Little Caesar's pizza. It would be a pretty boring evil side, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. In another episode, and I feel like this sums up kind of the entire show, someone said that the motto of Florida is to come here on vacation, stay on probation. Do you feel like that's kind of like the motto of Florida in the way?
Well, I've heard that so many times, and I think it's pretty funny, particularly in relation to our show, because that's absolutely the truth of a lot of the subjects of our show. Is that, um, I mean, I think what's fun about Florida. Ariana, are you in Florida? I don't even know.
No, I'm from Detroit.
Oh, Detroit. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you have Detroit man as well. Michigan man, certainly. But yeah, I think Florida, if you look at it, it's just a drain hole for the entire country. So everyone ends up here sometimes unintentionally. I live here now. So I guess I'm one of these whack jobs as well.
Yeah, for sure. Why did you end up there?
I'm all of my family is here, with the exception of my sister who's in Wisconsin. But everyone, my parents and my aunts and uncles just slowly moved down from the Midwest. Yeah, so I'm born in Chicago, but then grew up in Iowa, of all places, in the middle of nowhere. And then we moved down here way back when, thinking that this was the promised land. Compared to Iowa, it is.
Yes. It's that weather and it's that mouse. They'll get you.
Yeah, yeah, the state is a beautiful place, and it attracts a lot of invasive species. There are iguanas, pythons, and just whack jobs from all over the country.
Well, it was awesome talking to you. I can't wait to talk to you about future projects and season 3.
Absolutely. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.